This is the third and final tape in the series for Catholic Charities Mother-Infant class about parental rights. And for those of you who watched the first two tapes, bless you. Your reward will be, I promise that this will be the shortest tape in the series. This tape's going to be about what I call hot topic items that may arise along the way and have proven to be issues in the past, and you'll hopefully have some information about them so that you'll be able to avoid some of these issues. First, one of the key issues that always arises is when a woman is having a child out of wedlock. Every once in a while, the child's father will encourage the mother to withhold his name as being the father of the child. It usually goes something like this: you know, I love you, I'll do right by you, I'll give you money under the table, don't tell the state I'm the father, you can collect money from the state and I'll pay you money on the side, and you end up with more money and I pay less money. Well, the number one rule is do not lie. If you agree to do that, you have committed a felony as the mother, and you can, and perhaps will, end up in jail. And while you're in jail, that man who said he loved you may be the one who ends up with custody of the child. And once he gets custody, it's not real easy to get the child back. So if the father asks you to lie for him, tell him that you love him, but you wouldn't expect him to ask you to lie for him. Nothing bad happens if you tell the truth. Related to that question is, every once in a while a birth mother says, I don't know who the father is. Is that a problem? If that's the honest answer, that's not a problem. The state may ask you why you don't know, but be honest with them. If the answer was, I went to a party, had a little too much to drink, I met a guy, don't remember him, and I ended up pregnant, okay, that's the answer. As long as it's a true answer, that's the only factor. Maybe you don't know among a couple different guys who the birth father is. In that situation, you give them all of the names. They'll test all of the fathers to find out which one biologically is the father. You've done nothing wrong. And if the names turn out that none of them are it, once again, you have given them all the information that you have. Now, once child support gets established, from time to time, a parent, to try to get out of it, will say something like, well, Judge, I'll give up my rights. I'll let him or her have the baby. I won't pay any child support, but I won't visit, and they can raise that child. That's a nice thing to try, but it will never work. The reason it never works is the judge wants two people responsible to support that child. And if the state has paid any money towards either the child's medical care or the child's support, they're not going to let you give up your rights to the child because they want to be able to collect from both parents. Even if you're not receiving any state aid, they still won't allow it to happen because that doesn't mean you won't need help in the future, and they prefer two parents to collect. Now, a court can order the termination of parental rights, but that very rarely happens. And it usually only happens in a situation where there's someone else willing to assume those rights. And that usually occurs through an adoption. Either there's a new wife who wants to adopt, or a new husband who wants to adopt, or a boyfriend, even a relative, a grandfather, a grandmother, brother, or sister. As long as they're willing to take the rights, and there's two people who are responsible, a judge can allow the rights to be terminated on one parent because the judge feels fairly confident there are still two people around who can try to support the child. Is there anybody besides the parents that might have rights to the child? Well, you're looking at one who might. I'm a grandfather. In Kentucky, we like grandparents to visit with children. The grandparents' visitation rights are subordinate to the parents, But the court has to consider giving grandparents visitation rights if they ask. I would strongly recommend that if the grandparents of your child want visitation, that you allow it for two reasons. First, it's good for the child. And second, if you don't allow it and it ends up in court, you may end up in front of a judge who himself or herself is a grandparent. And it won't turn out very nice for you, because grandparents always want other grandparents to be able to enjoy the grandchildren. Now, we've talked about child custody, we talked about child visitation, we've talked about child support. Do you think those things can ever be changed? All of them always can be changed. For child custody, whatever's in the child's best interest. If the child is at risk of substantial harm, child custody can be changed. That's up to the judge. Child visitation is easier to change because a lot depends upon circumstances. Like if the parent gets a job out of town and lives in California, obviously the parent can't visit the child every weekend. So circumstances dictate we've got to adjust for the particular situation. As the child ages, the child may want to see more of a parent or less of a parent. And trust me, when the child turns 16 or 17, he or she don't want to spend time with either parent. They want to spend it with their friends. Child support, subject to change as well. If the father's income goes up, goes down, the mother's income goes up, goes down, you rework the numbers on the child support chart and it will give you a different number. Now, when I say the income can change, if a parent voluntarily quits a job and say, I don't have a job anymore, don't want to pay child support or lower the child support, be careful on that one. If you lost the job through no fault of your own, that is definitely an option. But if you voluntarily quit a job, a judge is not too sympathetic to that and is not going to give you the advantage of lowering your child support. And kind of the last little unusual situation, if a parent has a child or children by multiple partners, the question often gets asked, well, how much child support do all of those children get? Is it the same? No. The next logical choice is, well, the oldest one gets the most. No. Whoever gets the first court order of child support routinely ends up with the most money. And the simple reason for that is the only thing that gets deducted from a parent's income in calculating child support is a prior court order. So if the man makes $200 and the first mother gets $50 a week, there's $150 for the next mother that comes along. So each of the subsequent children will end up with less money. Now, these videos have been done at the request of Catholic Charities. They're one of the gems of the Archdiocese. If you enjoyed the videos, give them credit. If you didn't, you can blame me.